before we introduce you to our guests in the house. And I will just start straight from Nigerian Tribune with the banner headline, Democracy Day. NADECO lists 12 conditions to save Nigeria. We have several riders there, including demand convocation of ethnic nationalities conference by presidents. Best not good enough since 1999, says Atiku. June 12 milestone for democracy, Tinubu. Secure Nigeria, lead process for Electoral Act amendment, PDP tells Buhari. All are part of the banner headline there. We also have issues relating to COVID-19. Infectious disease bill will trigger anarchy. Insecurity, says Khan. Nigeria is third worst country on child marriage index, UNICEF. Alleged fraud, EFCC said to prosecute Okorocha. Returns recovered 2.7 billion naira to Imo government. Uncovers 1,000 ghost workers in Kwara. Court affirms INEC's power to deregister 32 political parties. And just there, we also have COVID-19 lockdowns denying 500 million children access to education, says IMF. That's across the world. Edo Gruber, judge transmitted PC primary suits to appeal court. Edo government warns violators of Gazette on political gathering. Court okays the issue of 120 million naira and $228,424 dollars property linked to ex-Air Force chief wife. Reps jack up 2020 budget from 10.805 trillion naira to 10.81 trillion naira. And quickly, sports. I can't wait for EPL restart, Igalo. And the COVID-19. Dele Ali band fined £50,000. That's from the sports, the back page of Nigerian Tribune. Yes, that's so far for Tribune. Moses.
Now let's get to Vanguard, and on the front page, the banner headline reads, COVID-19, millions more will sink into extreme poverty, says federal government. Unemployment to rise by 33.6% as Nigeria loses 185 billion naira monthly. Reps seek radical measures to avert recession, pass 37 bills. June 12 at 27, on ending search for democracy, AFCC returns 5.7 billion naira recovered from Okorocha to Imo government. Governors declare states of emergency on rape as Sanwo-Olu, male activists work against rape in Lagos. COVID-19, World Bank forecast 5.2% global contraction in 2020. Also, this Real Madrid Academy to start academic program September in Rivers, and you could see the pictorial story there showing Governor of Rivers State inspecting Real Madrid Academy. Boko Haram now an industry, says Lawan. Lawan Baja to meet Buhari over insecurity as UN condemns killing of 81 civilians in Borno. This has to do with business. Naira appreciates to 385.75 naira per dollar. Now to the back page of the Vanguard for some sporting headlines. Back page now, Omero optimistic, Leganese will escape relegation. Tyson Fury's dad predicts Joshua will fall in round 1. Semi Ajayi, Igalo on collision course as West Brom. Manchester United clash in friendly. FIFA bans laureate for cheating Ghanaian club. Weightlifting could lose spots in Olympics. Coppa Italian semi-finals hold today. Virtually all the headlines on the front page and the back page of the Vanguard this morning.
Yes, that's how much of the papers we'll be able to take this morning. Although we have the Punch, we have the Daily Sun with us here, but time will not permit us so that we can go straight into the discussion program. Well, on the program this morning we have two guests, but I will let you to knowing them immediately after this short break, so don't go away.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Welcome back. It's still Newdawn OGTV, and now we're looking at June 12th and Nigeria's democratic development. Of course, it's 27 years after, and I have two gentlemen in the house. First, I have a doctor and a politician. He has been able to successfully combine this. Dr. Kunle Salako, it's nice having you in the house.
Thank you very much.
All right. We also have a property expert and a public affairs analyst in the house. Deji Ogundim, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thank you, sir.
Each time it is issues relating to democracy, I always remember your onslaught with INEC on voters' card. Thank God you eventually got it, and these days you proud yourself as one of those who are voting in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Moses, maybe you want to take the floor.
Well, I also welcome you to the program. Let me start with Dr. Salako. Of course, we're looking at 21 years of uninterrupted democracy. Now, simply, how has Nigeria fared?
Well, I think that it's interesting. When you were reading the newspaper headlines, one of the headlines that caught my attention is one by Vanguard. And it said, unending search for democracy, June 12, Act 27. That means in the perspective of Vanguard, we do not have a democracy, because you cannot be searching for something that you have. So if you are still searching for democracy, as Vanguard has captured it, it means that in the perspective of the Vanguard, Nigeria does not have democracy. And if you look at it, to a large extent, you can actually agree with the Vanguard, because democracy is not just about going to election to cast votes and turn back. First, does the results totally reflect the expression of the people? That's one. Two, the institutions that are supposed to make democracy a moving wheel, are they working well? 3 is the life of the people. That is really the most important thing. What is the impact of that democracy in the life of the people in terms of their quality of life? So if you look at these 3 parameters, you will agree with me that clearly Vanguard is right, that in Nigeria we're still in search for democracy, because in a lot of locations in our country today, there is a lot of disaffection in terms of what people goes out to do and what it's reflected as the result of the election. I don't want to cite specific examples. I am sure my listeners at home can also root through their minds and reflect on that. 2, our lives are not getting better. Yes, we have issues of COVID pandemic, but even before the pandemic, in my estate where I live, for about 5-6 days now, we've not had light at all. And I am sure that is probably a little compared to what others are going through. So in general, we still have a long way to go in terms of democracy. A lot of people believe that what we have today is what they call pseudo-democracy. Yes, we do vote, but is it reflecting in our ways of life, in our quality of life? That is the big question.
Okay, that is the big question. Okay, Mr. Ogundimo, let's look at this from this perspective. Where Dr. Salako has been able to highlight, some of the problems we are facing as a nation. So, what kind of democratic reforms should we be looking at this period?
Thank you very much. Like Dr. Salako has rightly said, I can remember in 1999, I always stand by this position that I want to express now, and most Nigerians will agree with me. We rushed into democracy, or our politicians were hastily jumping on the boat of democracy without actually preparing the platforms for a democracy. What do I mean by this? We have a military constitution doctored by late General Sani Abacha in place, through which he wanted to rule the country. And instead of our politicians to actually look at these structures of democracy, the constitution through which we want to run a democracy, to actually see what are the dictatorial tendencies, what are the things that are, flaws of, that could hinder the smooth running of democracy. All of us just jumped that, okay, we just want to see the exit of the military, and without looking so properly. Our problem still in Nigeria, we are pretending to be practicing a democracy, just like the doctor has said that. It's a pseudo-democracy. Pseudo-democracy in the sense that all the tenets of democracy are not in place. We are godifying personalities and individuals above institutions. See what is happening around the world now. See a police chief, a commissioner of police in Houston, Texas, telling the president of America during this George Floyd Black Lives Matter movement and the rest of it, that Mr. President, if you don't have anything constructive to say to what is happening in the country now, could you please shut up? That is a commissioner of police. In Nigeria, that commissioner of police, even if he has that effrontery to say that, he will be nowhere to be found as I'm talking to you now. But that is America for you. That is where democracy works. That is where the president is not the almighty. So we need to get so many things in place before we can actually say that we are practicing a democracy. We are running a federal system of government. Where they run real federal system of government, like America, to be precise again. That is where presidential system of government we claim to be copying is coming from. We have institutions. We have the confederates dictating how the structure of their people and what concerns their people, dictating how it should be to the federation. We are practicing democracy. The federal government is still the one telling you Lagos State will be 20 local government, Kano State will be 44 local government. Up till now, by the wisdom of the Lagosians and the former governor of Lagos State, because of the population surge and the rest of it, decided to go into creation of local government development council so that development can go more even, more deeper to the people in the grassroots. But up till now, Those LCDA has not been absorbed into the Constitution. So to a large extent, all those LCDAs are still floating, not recognized. Meanwhile, in a federal system of government, it is the people at the local level, the local government, which is the closest to the people. They are the one that decides what to do. Look at the Trump Supremes, like I will refer to it again. The mayor of Washington, D.C. decide to name a plaza Black Lives Matter. Donald Trump doesn't want to see anything that has to do with black movement and the rest of it. But they are letting him know that it is the locals that owns the government. It is the local people that dictate what happens to their people. Not that we are here now, if the president sneezes in Abuja, everybody catches cold. An ordinary mayor naming, and they now inscribe that name black. So if Donald Trump wants, if he come out on the street and he sees that, whether he wants to leave government or do whatever, they are telling him it is the locals that runs the government. That is the way it should be. But so many things are being flawed in Nigeria, and most of our professors, most of our lawyers, most of our professionals are looking the other way. Meanwhile, all these things we are saying in Nigeria is an aberration and nobody is looking into it. We actually want to go in changing politicians, changing executive officers, changing governors, changing senators. If we continue to change politicians, okay, we don't want this governor today, we want to vote another governor in 2023. The platforms on which our democracy is running, which is faulty, will never, ever let us witness any change in Nigeria. We are running a faulty constitution, and we can't run a faulty constitution, I mean a country on a faulty platform, and we expect a change.
I don't know how much of the analysis of that constitution you have actually made, but in more specific terms, in what areas are you actually picking out this faulty constitution you're talking about?
Okay, I will go back to this issue of local government creation. Okay. The people supposed to be the most important, the pivotal mechanism in running a democracy. We should have a running local government, for instance. Okay. We should have a people-oriented governance. A situation whereby something is happening in my local government and I will still have to go and knock on the door of the governor before I can fix a road on my street, which could be several hundreds of kilometers to the state capital. Then we are not running a democracy, as in the real sense of democracy.
So you're suggesting that aspect, the local government should be more
yes, overwhelmingly.
I'll still take you more on that aspect of the thing, because I think latest development in recent times is actually addressing.
It's been rescinded. It's been rescinded. The president is already backtracking on it in so many ways. Okay. And it's in the news. We'll still
come to that. Dr. Sarako, let's look at this. Today is 27 years that we went to the field. And I recall that the process we used to bring out that election that was generally acknowledged to be freest and fairest was option A4. Looking at going to 21 years straight democracy now, and looking at the circumstances of that time, based on the fact that most times we always have controversies on result of election, will you suggest that we could take a second look at option A4 going forward in terms of our electoral process?
Well, personally, I don't think we should be going backward. The world has moved much more than for people to go and line up from morning till evening because they want to vote. As a matter of fact, for me, the problem is not whether it's option A4 or option A5. It is the operators of the system that is important. What is the level of honesty, transparency, fairness that are they bringing into the election? Okay. So if you say option A4, they will count people who line up at polling booths or at voting centers, but somebody will sit down to collate. So if the person who is collating is not transparent, he can still intervene in such a way that does not reflect what is coming out. And at the end of the day, they say, go to court, go and fight it out in the court, and you know how long it takes. So for me, I do not support going back to that. The world has moved forward. in most places of the world now, people are talking about electronic voting, and I think that we should be moving in that direction. But I am stressing that even if you go in the direction of electronic voting, we say garbage in, garbage out. So even if you go to electronic voting, if the operators of the system do not believe that the sovereignty belongs to the people, if they do not believe that the vote of the people should matter, the electronic system may still not bring in those indicators of true democracy that we're looking for. So that is on one aspect. On the other aspect is the issue of the constitutionality that my friend here is talking about. And I think it's a very important element because it is the foundation of it all. It is like building a house. Once you miss the foundation of the house, you go back, you have to collapse the house. There's nothing you can do about that house, except you want to be managing it like that. So the constitution is very, 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 very important. And when it comes to the issue of local government, I'm not an expert on constitution, but I've studied a few. And I'm yet to come across any constitution where the names of local governments are listed in the constitution. It is an aberration. And I think it is a deliberate scheme by some people to make sure that the way the resources of Nigeria is shared is skewed in one favor, in the favor of some people against others. So for a start, we do not need the list of local governments in our constitution. Local governments, in my own opinion, are administrative entities that each constituent, each federated unit should be able to create based on what they believe will serve their own constituency.
According to their peculiarities.
According to their peculiarities. So, but once you now put it in the constitution and straitjacket it that before you can change it, you have to go through the process of constitution amendment and review and all that, you are going to create a lot of problems. And that is why since 1999, no state in Nigeria, in fact, Nigeria has not been able to create any new local government because of the process that is required.
Let me quickly interject there, sorry.
Yes.
Now, when you look at all the creations you had, either from increase in states or increase in local government, all were done when the military were in the saddle. Why is it difficult for those that are supposed to be democratically elected, those who are leading government of democracy, finding it difficult? And like the two of you have admitted that we have faulty constitution, 20 sodded years. Are we saying that all these elected people, either in the national or state, are not seeing the need to do necessary adjustments for us to have what we are talking about here?
Well, I think that, in my own opinion, the problem is fundamental.
Okay.
It's fundamental because you cannot approach solving a problem using what created that problem. So if you approach trying to solve a problem and you want to use the origin of the problem to solve the problem, it will be difficult. The effort that we have made so far has always been based on a process that was handed over to us by the military. You know, the military do not need to consult anybody. They don't need to carry people along. A few of them can just sit somewhere and decide that this is what we want to do for Nigeria. They issue it as a decree, and that is it. And if you go against it, you know what can happen to you. But in a democratic environment, you now need to go around to consult with the people. And if the process that has been, or the mechanism that has been put in place for the consultation and the review has a problem, you continue to go around in circle. And that is why Afenifere, for example, is talking about calling a conference of ethnic nationalities. You know, because clearly we need to go back to the basis, to the fundamentals, to the foundation, and see how we can then, step-by-step approach, rebuild everything from that place. What we are trying to do now is trying to rebuild from the roof, and it's not going to work.
Okay, Mr. Gulimu, let me go this way. Of course, federalism is a special form of democratic government or governance. So, Is our federalism well equipped enough, to solve our problems?
That is what I meant by talking about strengthening institutions. There's no institution in Nigeria that you can actually say is actually independent in the real sense of it, that the president or the presidency does not have a tingling bolt, controlling such institutions. Until we begin to see that, like Chief has rightly said here, there are so many schemings in our constitution that is stifling the growth of this country. And until those issues are actually resolved, we are not going to move forward. Go and bring the most intelligent president in any civilized clime to come and rule Nigeria under this faulty constitution we're talking about. We're still going to continue getting the same result. That is why I said it's not about politicians. It's not about this governor is this. Because no matter who you put in an office, once they are working with a wrong mechanism, you don't expect a better result in any way. Let me chip in this. We talked about the constitution. All of us knows the population of Lagos State. Some of us may not have been to Lagos State in the last 3, 4, 5 years, but we know what is going on in Lagos State, for example. And as we are here too, we may not have gone to Kano State. Look at the issue of local government creation. 44 local government in Kano, 20 local government here, and look at this issue of policing. In Nigeria, we are still having a federal police, whereby we have crises in Eleweron here, and you expect a police that is being transferred from Ogoja just 3 days ago in Abeokuta to come and quell such, to come and find solution to such. So many things are fundamentally wrong. There is no agitation for restructuring or for the creation of restructuring Nigeria according to ethnic sovereignty more than this particular regime, more than this present time. And there's no better time to start thinking in that guise than now. Gone are those days when you talk about separating Nigeria or restructuring Nigeria. It used to be a taboo. If you say that in a radio or television station, they find a way to shut you up and, take your dimension out of that. But we are beginning to see that is the way it's been happening. And we cannot continue like this. Let me give you an instance. Between 1979 to 1983, we were not so young then. We see Baba Obafemi Awolowo as opposition party, doing what governance is all about. It was in that regime. There's a particular group in Nigeria that I will call them feudal lords. They don't care about the welfare of their people. They don't care about any development. They believe in taking money from wherever it's coming from, the federal allocation, from federal sources, from the oil or anywhere. They take the money on the table and share among themselves. Those are the groups in Nigeria that Nigeria is being tangled with. And that development, the development we are looking for, if we continue to have Nigeria under the arms of this particular group, we cannot move forward. Look at the issue of late Kangiwa, for example. It was late Governor Kangiwa that journalists saw a huge amount of money in his possession, right in his house. What did he say? It is on record. What do you mean by money with me? Government money in government house. That is where...
That's Bakinsuwo.
That is, sorry, Bakinsuwo. That is Bakinsuwo, the governor that later died on horse, playing polo. He was saying it openly. That is the type of group that I said they are feudal lords. They take money and share. Baba Obafemi Awolowo was looking for ways to better the lives of people here. In 1979 to 1983, we had free education, we had free healthcare. I was in primary school between this time of year, and we will see mobile clinic coming to our school. They give us dental treatment, they treat our wounds, they give us medical facility, they give us medication free of charge. We have textbooks, exercise books by the government. It is exercise book we use at home that our parents buy for us. Textbooks and notebooks are given to us in school. All these things are happening within a period of 4 years. That is to tell you that this particular section of the country is interested in people's welfare. It is not impossible for government to do so many things, but the time we begin to see opposition going away, most politicians now, if they win a platform, if they win election on a particular platform, they will look for ways to join the party at the center. Why? Because they don't want to do anything so per se. Because they don't want to be opposition. And the politicians are the one breeding the dictation, the dictatorial tendencies we are having in our democracy today. Because there's no visible opposition, there's no meaningful opposition again. If a governor wins an election in Ogun State under AD or APC or whatever, and if we have PDP at the center, they will scheme for ways to join the PDP at the center. But Baba Awolowo was doing that pari passu, and we are seeing what he was doing. Within the 4 years, we see what the Oyo, Ogun, Lagos, and Ondo State did within a very short period of time. But these days, what do we see? If a governor is doing a road construction, that is an excuse that teacher salary or worker salary will not be paid. That is an excuse that health facilities can be ignored at the expense of road construction. But all these things happen along the line within 4 years. So we need to get these structures amended. We need to get our constitution in place. Like the issue of policing I told you about, it is very, very absurd that we still have in Nigeria generation of electricity for 36 states of the federation in exclusive list of according to the constitution. It is only the federal government that has the right. When Bola Tinubu tried it in between 1999 to 2001, we knew what happened, how the PPP and everything went down. And all these things need to be highlighted and properly adjusted before we can start talking about any development. All the groups that are agitating for restructuring or independence or Oduduwa Republic, they are having more and more justification for that because we've seen so much lopsidedness. Since Abuja was created, since the beginning of our democracy, no single Southerner has been a minister in Abuja. No single Southerner, and that is the federal capital of the whole country. Look at that. There are a lot of lopsidedness in our system, and until those are resolved, we are not having a development that we're actually looking for.
All right. Okay. Now, moving forward, because now that we are celebrating 20 years straight and 27 years of, we should just possibly be looking at some areas where we can actually add value to the present democracy. A few days ago, the court also upheld the fact that INEC can deregister parties. You recall that the last general election, almost 80-something political parties took part. And when you take the ballot paper like this, so long and all of that, do you see this as part of strengthening democracy? Reducing the number, okay, you don't have, the Constitution says that you must have your offices in at least 2/3 of the states, and 2/3 of the local government in each of those states. And so many, you don't even find that, even from our own office here, you get some parties and you want to go and do, you won't find their address. Some will even give address that there is no house there and all of that. Now that INEC can deregister, is this also adding value to our democratic development?
Well, my opinion is that, first, is that democracy as practiced, for example, by America, is not for us to be adopted hook, line, and sinker.
Okay.
We must bring into bear
why did you say so?
Our own peculiarities.
Oh, okay.
Our own local environment, our own culture, our context must be brought into bear so that it can work for us. I believe that based on our level of development, our level of literacy, the kind of resources that we have as a country, we cannot afford to have endless number of political parties. Therefore, there must be an authority that can regulate so that we can have some level of manageable number of parties, so that we can better use our resources, so that our illiterate voters can better express their inner wish. Because you see, when you go to, sometimes, you know, as a politician, sometimes I'm on the field in election, and you see the kind of confusion that some of these voters go through when they now have to go through 80, 90
political parties
to make a choice. Sometimes some of them become confused. They just press it somewhere and just quick, don't kill me, you know. So we must bring that into bear. So I believe that, to me, INEC or another authority must be created and some parameters put in place to ensure that there's some regulation of political parties. However, all political parties do not have to be national. And we may create circumstances or parameters that can make you maybe a local government party, a state party, or a national party. So if you're a local government party, definitely when we're doing national election, you will not participate in it.
You will not field candidate.
You can only participate in local government election, and so on and so forth. So these are things that can be worked out. That's one. The other area I would like to touch is this issue of the role of politicians in pushing forward our democracy, as has been espoused by my good brother here. I believe that, for example, if you look at the June 12th issue, which is a very, very good case study, you will see that June 12th was not particularly based on politicians or politicking. It was based mostly on activism, pro-democracy groups, the fourth estate of the realm. Those are the people that drives democracy in any environment, not the practitioners. And once those people fails, the practitioners can then be given the room to take advantage of the situation. And that is what I believe is happening. To what extent are we really having pro-democracy activism in Nigeria at this moment, compared, for example, to those days of June 12th? To what extent are our journalism, the newspapers, the media houses ready to beam searchlight? Most newspapers are just for news reporting. Most journalists, media houses, just report news. How much of investigative journalism do we do? Do we really unearth issues that will bring out? Because that is what will put politicians and practitioners on their toes. If I know that anything I do, even in the corner of my house, with my wife alone, is not hidden, that somebody will bring it out, then I'll be careful. But the moment that is lacking, then you give those practitioners the opportunities to take advantage.
To buttress Chief's point, let me just quickly carry there was a particular news online somewhere that Minister for Agriculture has commissioned 700 boreholes in Ogun and Sokoto State. I now took on that particular publisher of that online publication. Where did you see? And I went through this particular news. I couldn't see. Even in that news, it was stated in the news that one of the benefiting communities wrote a letter of gratitude to the minister, but no single mention of a particular local government or ward where the letter is coming from. So according to Chief Salako, journalists are beginning to aid and abet bad politicking. When you say a minister commissioned 700 boreholes in 2 states, and you cannot make mention of a particular local government and a ward where I can go and verify that it is true, this is the one of the borehole, then politicians, journalists are losing their ability.
I won't agree with you.
No. Don't let me carpet journalists. Don't let me carpet journalists. Some journalists or some journalists are beginning to see political jobbing journalism.
Even some of these things you see on social media and all of that, majority of them are not journalists. The fact that you have access to all these platforms and you can do some writings and all of that does not make you a journalist. And that's where we must know that sources of our information must still be the core credible media that we have. When you want good news that are real, you know where to. So all of this, I am just because journalists are part of this democracy, and on a day like this, no, we must get credit.
Yes.
I think our time is up.
Our time is fast spent.
Definitely we must credit, because if you talk about June 12th, that we are celebrating
journalists
today,
played very important role.
There's no way you can
exclude journalists. Yes.
That fourth estate of the realm.
Of course.
We know the media houses that were closed down.
Of course.
We know the journalists that were in prison.
Just stood their ground.
They played their role.
Yes.
But we're saying that they need to step up and they don't need to backtrack. That's what we're saying.
Right.
Okay, we have to go now.
Yes,
And,
time is not our friend today.
Yes.
So many things came together today. All right.
So that will be the size of the program. I want to say many thanks to Dr. Salako and Mr. Gontimo for coming. It's been quite educative, enlightening, and informative. And to those watching, I want to say many thanks to you also for being a part of this program. So why not? Happy Democracy Day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and do have a lovely weekend. Bye for now.